Hey guys, Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be sharing a little bit of a different video. I'm going to be sharing some top podcasts, books, TV shows, just some stuff to kind of keep you busy while a lot of us are staying at home. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe before you leave so you don't miss any of my future videos. All right, let's get into it. I'm sorry if the lighting goes in and out. I am sitting in my office and I have windows a lot of different places, and so it's kind of getting sunny and cloudy, so if the lighting is weird, I apologize. Also, if you can hear my coworker, aka Adam, yelling in the background, he's in the basement on a conference call. It's like the world's loudest conference call ever, so sorry if you can hear that. Anyway, I'm gonna go through, I kind of have a couple things written down, I have like a whole page written down of podcasts and TV shows, just because I felt like I would forget a lot of them, and I actually did forget to grab the books from upstairs. If you guys watched my update on 75 Hard, I did mention quite a few of the books that I'm gonna mention today, just because a lot of them are kind of the genre I like anyway, so I will grab those after I talk about podcasts and TV shows. Make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite book, podcast, and or TV show are. I would love to know. I'm sure everyone reading the comments will also like to know, just because everyone's taste is different, everyone is exposed to different things, so I'm sure there's so many good things that I am missing because I just haven't seen them. So definitely leave your faves in the comments. The first category I'm going to talk about is podcasts. I love podcasts. I've been listening to them for years. I listen to them if I'm cleaning, organizing, decluttering, if I'm working a lot of times, if it's not something I have to pay like really close attention to, if I'm working on like thumbnails or linking things or anything like that, I'm listening to a podcast. I just absolutely love them. If I'm driving, there's just all the times basically I'm listening to a podcast, and these range from, there's quite a few true crime ones because I'm really into that, but then there's also a bunch of just like random topic ones. Okay, the first podcast is called Reply All. It's a pretty popular podcast, and they say that they just talk about the internet. It's basically like topics range very widely, and it's just a really good podcast in general. They used to do it every week, now they do it every other week, but they'll talk about random things, like people will have something very bizarre happen to them, like robocallers or something, and they will get to the bottom of it. They actually had one that was about spam calling, and they like traveled to India to research it. It is such a good podcast. The next one is Other People's Lives, and it's hosted by Joe Santagato, which is a like comedian YouTuber. And I found his podcast, and it's basically every week they interview someone who has like a different lifestyle. So they actually recently did one of a girl who was quarantined in China. They also do them on like random things like strippers or people who are into like weird fetishes. Not weird, different. So it's basically just like any type of lifestyle that you could imagine. They talk to people like that. They've talked to like the parent of a transgender child, and they just really get insight into these people's lives. I just find it so unbelievably fascinating because they're people who like I don't necessarily know somebody who falls into these categories in my own life, so it's, you kind of get an insight that you wouldn't normally get. The next one is called Approachable. It is hosted by Sam Ravindal, which she's one of my favorite YouTubers. I think she's hysterical. It's her and her friend Alyssa, and they talk about all types of different issues. They talk about like women's issues, like social issues, just all types of things, and they kind of just give their input and do a lot of research on the topic. So I find that one, it's a really easy listen. They have really good chemistry, so that one is really good. Then I have A Conversation With, which is hosted by Philip DeFranco, who is another YouTuber. God, there's a lot of these that are YouTubers, but anyway, he basically sits down and has a conversation with random people. Most of them are YouTubers, so if you're into like pop culture or YouTube world, then you might be interested in that. He just talks about just all of the challenges that people face and what they individually face depending on what type of business they're in and all of that. I find it very interesting. Then I have The First Degree. This is a true crime podcast, and it basically interviews somebody who was 1 degree away from a murder or stranger than fiction story, and they go through and tell you their connection to it and then go through the entire scenario. That one is crazy, and they say at the beginning or maybe at the end of every episode, they say this is the true crime podcast that you could end up on, which I think is so creepy, and I probably shouldn't listen to these because I'm already like think everyone's a murderer. So anyway, that one is a really good one. Then I have a Dying for Sex. This is a new one, and it's like a 6-part series. It's 2 best friends. The one friend interviews her other friend who has terminal cancer, and she goes on like all of these sexcapades, but then the ending of it is so different than what you think it will be. I was actually packing up orders and was crying my eyes out during the last episode. It is so good. I highly, highly recommend that one. That's one of the newest ones that I've listened to. It's new in general, but it is phenomenal. Another new one I've been listening to is called I Survived, and it's stories of women who survived murder, which is crazy, and they tell their story and kind of go through bit by bit what they did to survive, and then also kind of the aftermath of their life after that happened. So it can be all of the good. Some of them have written books, they become speakers, they become advocates for like different types of victims. It's so good. Again, that one's like not great for listening to right before bed. The Moment, this one is really cute. It's all about love, and it's all about the moment when you realize the person you're with is who you're going to end up with. And it kind of tells the story of like the trials and tribulations each couple goes through to get to the point that they're going to spend their lives together. 22 Hours is an insane true crime podcast. That one I finished already. It is the story of a couple who was basically like held captive in their home for 22 hours. And it's a pretty long series considering the entire thing happened in less than a day, but it is really good. I keep saying it's really good. All of these I personally think are really good, otherwise I wouldn't be recommending them. Next I have Asking for a Friend. This one is hosted by Lauren Conrad, and there's actually not that many episodes out, and then she had her baby and went on maternity leave, so they are on a break right now. But this one is basically like she will interview her friends that are in different industries and kind of get tips and tricks. So it's like a photographer or a hairstylist or whatever it is, and it's like she's asking for a friend advice from these people for like everyday women. It's really good. I feel like I've gotten some tips from it, and I just think it's a really easy listen. You feel like you're sitting down talking to a girlfriend. Blood Ties is a scripted one. I actually recently finished this too. It's newer as well, and this one is, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It's a true crime. It's not a true crime. It's a scripted crime show, and it's really good. It's about family money basically. And then I am just gonna list a couple of older true crime podcasts that I've listened to all the way through. So I have S-Town, Serial, Up and Vanished, Dirty John. The last one is Criminal, and that one talks about different crimes. It could be literally any crime under the sun, whether it seems really small or it's a really old crime so it wouldn't even be considered a crime. It's really good. A lot of them are things that I'm not necessarily into, so sometimes I'll skip through to find one that is more interesting to me, but the topics range so greatly that I feel like you'd be able to find one that you like. Plus, I just gave you a list of a lot of them, so that one might be lower on the list, but there's so many other podcasts. So those are my podcast recommendations. Next, we're going to talk about TV shows. I have these listed in no particular order, but just to let you know, we do have Netflix, Hulu, and Apple TV Plus for a year. I actually got it free because I bought a new computer. And then we have Disney Plus for a year because we have Verizon. So, which I don't think any of these are on Disney Plus. So those are the things we have. And then I also have AT&T TV, a login for that, and so we can watch shows on like Bravo or Lifetime or anything like that. First is Schitt's Creek. We actually like flew through that entire series. We can't see the last season. I think we've seen like 2 episodes from the last season, but we don't have access to, I think it's on like Pop TV. We don't have access to that, so we can't watch the last season of it, but we've seen everything that is on Netflix. It's hysterical. It's just such a good show, and they're really short, so they were shows that we would watch just before bed or something. Orange is the New Black. We actually started watching this like pretty early into our relationship. We finished it a couple of months ago. We watched all of the seasons. It's really good. For a while there were a couple months that we just didn't watch anything, and actually I almost gave up on it, but it's really good. I like the way that they kind of like wrapped up the entire thing. Highly recommend. Mindhunter, I think there's 2 seasons of this so far, and that is the one that they're trying to get into the heads of serial killers, and each season was pretty different, and I really liked it. I'm interested. I'm not sure if it's going on to a 3rd season or not. I hope it does, because I enjoyed it. That again is kind of like more true crimey. 4 Weddings and a Funeral was a like however many part miniseries, and I have never seen the movie, and I don't know that they're exactly the same, but the series was really good. We kind of flew through that as well. Friends from College actually got canceled after 2 seasons. I think it was 2 seasons, but it is so good. It's really funny, and it kind of, I feel like every person who watches it like pins themselves into the personality of one of the characters. Dirty John was originally on Bravo, but I think it's on Hulu or Netflix now, and it was just a 1 season based on the true story, which is actually the podcast that I mentioned as well, and it's so good. So I listened to the podcast first, and then the show came out and I watched that, and I enjoyed both of them. Imposters was originally on Bravo. It was a scripted show, and they canceled it after either 2 or 3 seasons, I'm not sure, but there is quite a bit that you can watch, and that one is this girl who pretends to fall in love with men and then steals all of their money, and it kind of is like the ins and outs of that, what it looks like and how those men and their families deal, but it's way better than that. I just made it sound really boring. It's not. It's really, really good. A Million Little Things is one of, I think it might be my favorite show ever. It's really good. The first episode is unbelievably heavy, but it definitely gets a little bit lighter than that. It is definitely a dramatic show, so if you're not into that, you probably wouldn't like it, but yeah, that is one of my all-time favorite shows, if not my favorite. And then of course right next to that one I have This Is Us. This Is Us, that is an amazing show. I just feel like the characters, everything about that show, the way that they have written it is phenomenal. The entire first season, I think I cried and laughed during every single episode. I'm not caught up on it from this season yet. I probably should catch up on it, but highly recommend that if you have not seen it. Stumptown is one that I think is new this season. It's in the first season right now, and we're watching it right now. That one is, it's about friendship and crime, and just watch the preview of it, but it's really good. Adam and I watch it together. Definitely recommend it. All right, Manifest is on its 2nd season, and Adam has kind of lost interest in it. I still really like it, but it's about a plane that disappeared for 5 years and then it came back, and kind of like what happened, what's going on with the passengers, and they're trying to figure out just all of the details of that. There's a lot of strange stuff that goes along with it. So yeah, I really like it. I actually just mentioned it in my vlog, in my last vlog, and somebody mentioned that they were over it too and how it just got weird. I'm still in. I don't know. I guess I'm a trooper, but I'm still interested in it. A Handmaid's Tale is a Hulu original, I believe, and Adam had seen the first couple of seasons before we met, and then we started watching together, and we're caught up. I think, well, I don't know when a new season's gonna come out. The last new season came out last June, so in theory at some point this summer, but who knows with what's going on when they will go into production or whatever. Anyway, that one is really good. I actually never watched it on my own because I thought it was gonna be too heavy for me, and it certainly is very heavy and like extremely messed up, but it's one of those things that you can watch it and then walk away from it and know that that's not reality. The morning show is on Apple TV Plus, and it has such a star-studded cast. It is so good. It's I think like 10 episodes and then it's over, and we both absolutely loved it. It has Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and I'm not gonna be able to remember his name now. What is his name from 40-Year-Old Virgin and Dan in Real Life and The Office? Anyway, it's a really, really good one. Big Little Lies, I think that that's on HBO, and I haven't seen the second season. I've seen the first season. That's another one that's like pretty heavy, and they talk about real life things that are not good, but the show in general is so good, and it's really like a sisterhood. I highly recommend it if you're sensitive to like listening to or hearing or watching stories about like sexual assault. I do not recommend watching it, but otherwise it is definitely worth the watch. Modern Love is on Amazon, I think. Yeah, and I forgot to mention I also have Amazon Prime, which I feel like is obvious because I post 8 million Amazon videos. Anyway, that one is on Amazon Prime, and that one is little short stories about love. So every episode is a different love story. I have this written down as Frankie and Grace, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's Grace and Frankie. Frankie and Grace? I don't know. Either way, it's on Netflix, and that one is, I don't know if I've seen the trailer for it, so I don't know what they say about it, but it's basically like a story of frenemies. I don't know what else to say without like giving away what happens in the show. So that's what I'm gonna say. It's really funny. I think there's like maybe 6 seasons of it or something. The last season recently came out. I don't know if that's the final season or if they're still filming it, but it's really good. The Bold Type is a show about 3 friends, and they all work in advertising and at a fashion magazine, and it's just like, it's like the ins and outs of their lives and of like being in their early to mid 20s, which is like, I'm past that at this point, but it's still fun to just watch kind of like the social issues they go through, the life issues they go through. It's empowering, and it's just a really good girl watch. Oh, Younger. Younger is one of my favorite shows. Hilary Duff is in it, and there's another girl, the other girl who's in it, Liza. I don't know what her name is, but I've seen her in quite a few shows, and she is really, really good. But I think there's like 5 seasons of it, and that one is about a woman who is divorced. She's in her 40s, and then she pretends to be younger to get a job in advertising because she had been out of the workplace for so long. And it's just kind of like what happens in life if you have basically like a double life, and the ins and outs of that. It is so good. It takes you on a journey of like rooting for different characters. It's outstanding. And then I have Lost on here. So Lost is the very first series that I ever watched, like that had multiple seasons, and it was a huge time investment, and I watched that entire series. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. I really liked it. I know a lot of people are upset about the ending of it, which I'm kind of like impartial about, but I wanted to recommend it just because it is completely done. Every single season is very long, so there's a lot of hours of content if you want to watch. If you just want to binge something, that's a really good binge show. And then lastly, of course, I have to mention some trash TV shows that I just cannot get enough of. Summer House on Bravo, Vanderpump Rules on Bravo, Married at First Sight on Lifetime, and then Love is Blind on Netflix. All of those are like my trash TV that I love. This video is going to be so long. Okay, let me go grab my books, and I'll be right back. Okay, so for books, if you watched my 75 hard update, a lot of these books will be repeats, so I'm going to talk about the fiction books first, and then we'll get into the books that would be repeats. So if you saw that video, you can fast forward. This book is pretty old. It's called Normal Gets You Nowhere by Kelly Cutrone. She also wrote the book, If You Have to Go Outside, Cry. If You Have to Cry, Go Outside, something like that. Either way, they're just kind of businessy books. yeah, if you have to cry, go outside. Yeah. Anyway, it just talks about like the fashion industry, which obviously, if you don't know, I went to school for fashion, so I was really into, she ran a PR company and just kind of like the behind the scenes world of that. So that is a good one. The Fault in Our Stars, I don't have the cover of this one anymore. I made the mistake of reading this book on a flight and was like ugly crying, so I had to put it away. But this is such a good book. There's also a movie that came out after this. Definitely good, but it is emotional. This one, And To All the Boys I've Loved Before, such a good book. This is actually now a movie as well. I'm sure you guys already know that. It's on Netflix, and they just came out with the second one, so I want to get Adam to watch the first one so that we can watch the second one together. But yeah, definitely love this. And then I actually listened to a fiction audiobook. Let's see if I can find it, because it was so good. Okay, the book that I was looking for is called An Anonymous Girl, and it is by Greer Hendricks. It is so good. It is it's all about like manipulation, and I have such a hard time describing things without just giving everything away. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. You can listen or like read the description of it. And then I also realized, I'm looking at my purchase history on Audible, I did listen to Life Will Be the Death of Me by Chelsea Handler, and that one is really good too. It's fun to like listen to her telling stories about her life. And then I have a couple more books that I listened to on Audible, which was 2 books from Rachel Hollis, which I love her. She's an amazing businesswoman, which I guess this is going to take me into more businessy books just because that's kind of what I'm interested in. But they are Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing. Both of them are by Rachel Hollis. Both of them are absolutely amazing. I will link them down below. And then this, I don't have a bookmark, so this is what I'm using as my bookmark, my cough drop bag. Anyway, this is what I'm currently reading. I just started this last night, and it is How to Stop Feeling Like Shit by Andrea Owen. And it says 14 habits that are holding you back from happiness. So this is the last book that I'll be reading during my 75 hard, which ends in like in 2 weeks, I think, or less than 2 weeks. I actually finished this book last night before I started this one. This one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It is so good. It tells you kind of like the thought process behind your habits and why you do the things you do, and just kind of how to break bad habits and how to create better habits, and just how making tiny little changes in your life can make huge differences. So I cannot recommend this book enough. I'm really excited to do a lot of the work in it. It kind of goes through and gives you like the tools that you need to identify your habits, things that you don't even realize are habits. Like it's very eye-opening. Then I have Quitter and Start, both by John Acuff. Highly recommend both of these. They're business books. Start is kind of about figuring out where to start in your business and creating the life you love. And Quitter is about the difference, kind of like the time between while you're still working your day job before you start working your dream job, I think is what he says. Yeah, closing the gap between your day job and your dream job. Both of them are so good. If you've been thinking about going off on your own, I highly recommend Quitter. It is just such a good one. Both of them obviously are amazing, but I think that if you're still working kind of like corporate or 9 to 5 or whatever that job is for someone else, but you do want to go off on your own, I think Quitter is a great place to start. And then of course I have You Are a Badass and You Are a Badass at Making Money. This is one of the books I also read during my 75 hard challenge. Both of these are really good. They're by Jen Sincero, and she's really funny. She shares a lot of anecdotes, which I like. It's really easy to read and digest her writing. So highly recommend both of those. The last one is Scary Close by Don Miller. I don't have that one right now in front of me because I lent it to my mom and she is loving it too. That is all about vulnerability, getting close to people, and how that can affect your relationships and really just make your life. Okay, those are all of my podcast, TV show, and book recommendations. I realize there's a lot of them. I will link all the books down below, and I will list out the podcasts and TV shows in case you guys are interested in it. Let me know down below what your favorite TV show is, what your favorite podcast is, what your favorite book is. Let me know all the things. I'm sure everyone who's watching this will want a couple of other recommendations just besides just mine, so definitely leave them in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.